Hello guys, today we're going over the MCU, both, the Star Wars, and, okay, as you all know, many franchises have goals to build, many movies have made a lot of money, but the sequels or reboots that come out don't make any money at all, okay? There are many classic movies that have gotten sequels, or at least three movies, but don't do as well as the first one. No movie franchise is impervious to this. Star Wars is one such franchise. As we all know, they're still expecting Star Wars Episode 9 Rise of Skywalker to gross $1 billion. Well, I'm about to tell you it won't happen. Why? Because Star Wars is dead. There are still people who claim that Star Wars isn't dead and stop comparing Star Wars to movies that are out in theaters. Star Wars Episode 9 is not out in theaters yet. How can you compare Star Wars to Arena? But here's the thing. If Star Wars Episode 9 was really as hype as it was, Star Wars Episode 9 was really doing as well, it would have had higher trailer views than Endgame. It didn't. Star Wars failed to top The Last Jedi. Yes. Of course, we all know Solo had worse previews than, and of course, problem is Star Wars isn't that big for one. Oh, but Star Wars is big for in other countries. You just don't like Star Wars because you didn't grow up with it. Well, the only Star Wars we're really talking about is Disney Star Wars. Disney Star Wars is a Star Wars that nobody likes. Despite making a lot of money, making money does not mean it's a good movie. Let's look at Captain Marvel and The Last Jedi. Both movies are completely horse crap and still manage to make money. Or let's look at the Lion King remake. I doubt a sequel to the Lion King remake is gonna gross $1 billion. Disney will probably make a sequel to it, but it probably won't gross $1 billion, as most people don't really cared about it, only want to see it because of nostalgia. And let's look at all the Star Wars movies in order. Yes, updated sales. If we got all the Star Wars movies adjusted for inflation, what do you see here? The Last Jedi is not even in the top 5. The Last Jedi is not even in the top 5. Empire, the original trilogy, and Episode 1 and The Force Awakens comprise of the top 10. Top 5. Episode 1 and or ticket sales, especially. The Last Jedi. The only movies that did worse than The Last Jedi was Rogue One, Star Wars Episode 3, Star Wars Episode 2, and Solo Star Wars Story, which all did worse. And of course, The Empire Strikes Back, we can also include the special edition and all the re-releases of The Empire Strikes Back, which means The Empire Strikes Back did make more money than The Phantom Menace. And of course, Return of the Jedi got also a few special editions and re-releases, making it also over The Phantom Menace, but still didn't beat The Force Awakens. But the only reason The Force Awakens did so well is because people were expecting all of the original characters they loved to return. Well, they didn't really. They all Han Solo got the axe, and several other characters died as well. And Luke Skywalker wasn't even in the film at all, only appearing for like last few seconds of the movie. Same thing with R2-D2, which he basically did nothing for the other movie. And also in the first Star Wars film, R2-D2 was in the first three movies throughout. I'm talking about the prequels here, and of course the original trilogy. Of course, the prequels in the original trilogy is what people really love. People said that I would rather watch a whole movie of Jar Jar Binks than watch a whole movie of Rose Tico. That's just my opinion here. But Star Wars is also comparable to other franchises that are also not invincible. Remember Independence Day? That got a sequel and nobody watched it. Okay, let's look at Independence Day. Independence Day was a very successful movie. If you adjust it for today, Independence Day would be. Wait. No, it goes $600 million. $600 million is more than The Incredibles 2, which made $600 million, despite all the hype of that movie. Independence Day still made more money than The Incredibles 2. But then, it got a sequel. Nobody watched it because it was terrible. Next franchise is the X-Men series. Oh yes, X-Men. The X-Men franchise has done really well until this year. X-Men is one of those franchises that have consistently done well throughout the years. But if we go to the highest grossing movies, the top 10, the newest X-Men movie didn't even make the top 10. Even the worst Wolverine movie, X-Men Origins Wolverine, at least was still better than Dark Phoenix, was completely bombed and was forgotten about right away. And people say, but the X-Men wasn't in the title. Well, two of the highest grossing X-Men related movies don't even have the name X-Men in it, so, and they were both Deadpool 1 and Deadpool 2, so, and of course the second and third Wolverine movies, which Logan did better than X-Men Origins Wolverine without having the word X-Men in it, so don't use that excuse at all. Dark Phoenix flopped because it was a terrible and awful movie. Dark Phoenix did so poorly it did worse than the first X-Men movie, and that's of course unadjusted for inflation. The first X-Men movie is probably around similar to how The Last Stand if you adjusted it for inflation. It's between Apocalypse and Last Stand. That's how poorly Dark Phoenix did. Also, in terms of comic book movies, well, to the two people who like Dark Phoenix, I have something very, very, very sad to tell you. For the people who said this is of course good news for everybody else who likes movies, but Alita Battle Angel made more money than Dark Phoenix. You can tell how poorly X-Men has been doing. Oh yeah, and Alita Battle Angel. It also outsold the Star Wars movie worldwide. Which Star Wars movie was that? Of course, the flop known as Solo. The movie that nobody wanted. Well, no, people wanted, but Disney ruined. A movie that had expensive reshoots. But you're not convinced that Star Wars is dead? That Star Wars is dying? You're not convinced. Alita Battle Angel outselling Solo or Star Wars story is not your proof? Okay. Let's see other franchises that have died. Also because nobody wanted to see them. Let's see another billion-dollar movie, Alice in the Wonderland. Came out in 2010. It did well because it came out in 3D, but it got a sequel. And nobody watched it. And this is comparable to Solo or Star Wars story. And Rogue One. Rogue One goes $1.06 billion. Alice Through the Wonderland goes $1.03 billion, unadjusted for inflation. And of course, Alice Through the Looking Glass didn't even gross $300 million. Yikes. That's bad, especially for Disney. That was a Disney movie as well. And it completely bombed. It also released on the same weekend as X-Men Apocalypse, another very forgettable movie. Oh yeah, also in the year of 2016, another movie called The Secret Life of Pets came out. That movie nearly grossed $1 billion. Well, it got a sequel. Well, this year. Did anybody watch it? Oh, we have to go to last month. It came out in July. Or let's look at The Secret Life of Pets. The first movie goes $875 million worldwide. The second movie goes half of that. Or we have another franchise, Ice Age. The Ice Age movies, despite the quality, same thing of Transformers, we'll be going over later, despite the questionable quality, even Ice Age Collision Course, considered the worst entry in the franchise of the Ice Age franchise, unadjusted for inflation, still made more money than Solo. I guess the audiences really cared more about the. And let's look at the Ice Age franchise. The Ice Age franchise Ice Age Dawn of the Dinosaurs goes $888 million. Continental Drift goes $877 million. And the next movie, despite the movies having questionable quality as well, and the fourth movie didn't do too well worldwide. And Fox stopped making Ice Age movies until Disney revives them. Of course, Disney's gonna try to bring them back because you know how that's what Disney is. Or we have to look at the Transformers franchise. Everybody's favorite, always favorite franchise. Transformers got canceled. Transformers is easily one of those movies that nobody cares about. That because of how bad Michael Bay's movies are. Let's look at the Transformers franchise as well. Transformers franchise had $2 billion. The Last Night, $600 million, and Bumblebee. This movie doesn't count. That was an old '90s movie, '80s movie that didn't really come out. That only came out in America. We'll talk about the 6 live action movies. Bumblebee didn't even gross $500 million, and Bumblebee was actually saved by being a good movie, or at least a decent movie. That reason was much better than Age of Extinction and The Last Night, which The Last Night which ever since Age of Extinction, the Transformers franchise continued doing worse and worse and worse. Even though a sequel to Bumblebee is in the work, they'll still have to fix the entire franchise as well. Or how about another very popular franchise, the Harry Potter series or the Wizarding World series? There's another big example of a series that has done really well, that is very popular and famous. But then Fantastic Beasts came out. Fantastic Beasts was one of the lowest grossing in the entire series. This is Harry Potter. Talking about J.K. Rowling's Wizarding World series, which Harry Potter is also part of. The lowest grossing of the entire franchise was Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, especially domestically, where the movie only grossed $159 million. So, Star Wars is not impervious to flopping. Fantastic Beasts only didn't flop because it did well and outside of America. And Fantastic Beasts seems to be cancelled. The third and fourth movie are not even in development, which means the Fantastic Beasts series is formally cancelled, as the no more entries being developed. Or, now let's go to our last example, the DC Extended Universe and Justice League. This is the most comparable movie to Star Wars Episode 9. They were expecting Justice League to gross $1 billion. Well, here's the actual gross of Justice League. 2017 was a very disappointing year in movies for the box office. Many movies underperformed and didn't do too well. Even Pixar did poorly this year in 2017. Coco did well, but Cars 3 completely bombed. And many other franchises died, such as Transformers, and the DCEU did have one of the most successful movies at the time also come out, but the DCEU also is starting to recover from and starting to pick itself back together. But it's too little too late. This is what Star Wars is going to be in the future, or the MCU. We all know the MCU really has nothing left. And the Joker is not a DCEU movie. I'm sorry. The Joker's not DCEU. Even they said it's not DCEU, so they removed that off the list. But this is the DCEU movies worldwide, but the DCEU is starting to recover. Despite Shazam being the lowest grossing movie in the franchise, they didn't release it too close to Endgame, which probably was the reason why the movie didn't do too well. And of course, it's based off a lesser known superhero. And of course, Aquaman did $1 billion, which was a shock to everybody. Or, the DCEU is still trying to recover after the failure of Justice League, which only made this much money. And after 2 other bad movies, I'm not surprised that many people didn't really care for the DCEU, called Batman v Superman and Suicide Squad, both releasing in the same year. Wonder Woman did well, but Wonder Woman could have done well as a solo story and not connected to the DCEU. And that's the problem. That is where Star Wars is heading. Star Wars movies are completely becoming terrible now, and now it's starting to flop. And Disney is starting to see one of the biggest franchises go to waste. And who do we have here to blame? Nobody else but Disney themselves. Disney may be king of the box office this year, but next year they have nothing. What does Disney have next year? Black Widow, which will probably do well anyways, but I don't think it's gonna be which could be $1 billion success, but the Eternals, I don't think it will go to $1 billion. Disney does not have much movies next year. I won't be surprised if Wonder Woman 1984 goes to $1 billion before Black Widow does. That's how Disney is basically ruining the franchises by making them woke and making them garbage. Disney should have listened to people fans and stopped attacking them over Captain Marvel. Okay, I'm looking for Disney. Yeah, Disney. Let's look at next year, 2020. There was Onward, which is a Pixar movie. Mulan, Black Widow, Artemis Fowl, Soul, Jungle Cruise, this movie, The Eternals, Raya and the Last Dragon, never even heard of it before. Do you think any of these movies are going to be $1 billion sellers? People say, oh, Mulan will be $1 billion seller. But people tend to forget that Mulan only goes $200 million domestically, the worldwide. But it might do well in China, but probably might not go to $1 billion. And Pixar, their original movies never goes to $1 billion. And the problem is, March is a very crowded month as well, with Onward coming out a week before Godzilla vs. Kong, and Mulan coming out also very close to other movies, like The New Mutants, which are also flop, and the untitled DC movie, which they sort of removed a long time ago. And of course, Trolls World Tour and Black Widow, and the month basically being empty. But then we look at March. Onward, Godzilla vs. Kong, A Quiet Place sequel, and Mulan. I don't think that Mulan will go to $1 billion. It might, but it definitely will not. Especially after it pissed off people in China over the protests. Because of course the actress who plays Mulan had to get political. I think the only movie that will probably be a guaranteed $1 billion success is Black Widow. And that's it. That's basically it. Yeah. Jungle Cruise and most of these movies are kind of smaller movies. This movie might gross $1 billion, where in the Last Dragon might be a Frozen Zootopia success, but then other companies are still not afraid to go against Disney. Okay, what's future? We'll reschedule 2020. But where in the Last Dragon will probably just do similar to other movies. But other companies will probably release their movies around this time too. Let's look at King Richard, which is a Warner Brothers movie. It's a drama. It has no information. But these companies are not worried about Disney. Or let's look at May. Black Widow is coming out the same month as a Scooby Doo movie, Fast and Furious, and a SpongeBob movie, and Artemis Fowl, which means Disney will be competing with themselves. I won't be surprised if Black Widow doesn't even go to $1 billion, but Wonder Woman does. Because Wonder Woman has much less competition. Candyman, which is two different audiences, and the only movie that will probably take audiences away from Wonder Woman will be Soul 2 weeks later. And the first Wonder Woman came out in the same month and did really well. Goes $800 million. I won't be even surprised if Wonder Woman 1984 passes Captain Marvel. Hopefully it does, because Captain Marvel sucks. Or let's look at July. Disney does have Jungle Cruise, but it's gonna be a hard time competing with Minions and Ghostbusters. And Bob's Burgers coming out before. Oh, yeah, that's another Disney movie because Fox is owned by Disney. Oh. Which means Disney must be competing with themselves. And of course, anything with Sony is not competing with Disney because Sony just basically said, we're not competing with, we're not letting Disney just try to grab on to Spider-Man like he's out. And of course, 2020 will probably have more and more releases be announced over time, like Venom 2 coming out. Goodbye.